Welcome to True Crime Talks, where we dive deep into the most shocking and mysterious true crime stories. In today's case, we uncover the chilling secrets behind a bride's disappearance just one day after her lavish wedding. It was the kind of wedding that small-town folks would talk about for years, a dazzling spectacle straight out of a fairy tale. Lauren Hastings, a radiant young woman with a captivating smile, married Raymond Shaw, a self-made millionaire whose fortune was the stuff of legends. The ceremony took place on a perfect autumn afternoon at Raymond's sprawling estate, a luxurious property boasting manicured gardens, marble fountains, and a grand ballroom fit for royalty. Every detail was meticulously arranged to reflect Raymond's extravagant lifestyle and impeccable taste. Guests arrived in elegant attire, stepping out of sleek cars and walking on paths lined with roses. A string quartet played soft melodies as sunlight filtered through the towering oaks surrounding the venue. Crystal chandeliers sparkled under the vast canopy erected for the occasion, casting a warm glow over tables adorned with lavish centerpieces of orchids and rare blooms. The air was filled with the tantalizing aroma of gourmet dishes prepared by a team of renowned chefs, flown in especially for the event. To the hundreds in attendance, Lauren and Raymond seemed like a picture-perfect couple. She wore a stunning, custom-designed gown with intricate lacework and a long, flowing train, while Raymond, handsome and confident, stood by her side in a perfectly tailored black tuxedo. Together, they looked every bit the embodiment of romance and success. Friends and family toasted to their happiness, clinking glasses of champagne and marveling at the spectacle. The couple's first dance was a flawless waltz, their movements synchronized in a display of grace and elegance that drew admiring smiles and applause. For Lauren, however, the day was far from a dream come true. Beneath her composed exterior and radiant smile, a storm of conflicting emotions brewed. She felt the weight of eyes on her, the pressure of expectations, and the inescapable sense that she was living a life that wasn't her own. Raised in modest circumstances, she had never imagined herself in such a world of luxury. It had swept her off her feet. Private jets, diamond jewelry, and vacations on secluded islands. But there was something else, a nagging feeling of unease that she couldn't shake. She thought back to the whirlwind romance that had brought her here. Raymond had pursued her with relentless charm, showering her with attention and gifts that dazzled her friends and made her feel special. He had the ability to make her believe that she was his everything, that life with him would be one of endless joy and privilege. Yet even in moments of bliss, she had caught glimpses of another side to him, small flashes of impatience, a controlling nature masked as protectiveness, and the subtle way he always steered the conversation in his favor. As the night progressed, Lauren felt the tension within her grow. Her heart raced with thoughts she couldn't silence, doubts and fears swirling in her mind like shadows lurking just beyond reach. She noticed little things that felt off, the way Raymond's eyes scanned the crowd with calculated precision, the fleeting moments of cool detachment when he thought no one was watching. She had dismissed these feelings before, convincing herself they were just nerves, but on her wedding day, they weighed heavier than ever. To the outside world, the event was a triumph, a celebration of love and fortune. But for Lauren, it was a crossroads, a moment of profound realization. As guests cheered and fireworks lit up the night sky, her heart carried a secret no one could see, a secret that would soon unravel everything. The morning after what was supposed to be the happiest day of her life, Lauren Hastings was gone. The silence in the grand estate was broken only by the gentle hum of a distant fountain and the soft rustle of curtains as sunlight streamed through the enormous bedroom windows. Raymond Shaw, still basking in the afterglow of his wedding celebration, woke to find an empty space where his bride should have been. His hand instinctively reached for hers, only to grasp cool sheets instead. The wedding ring he had placed on her finger with a vow of forever now lay alone on the polished nightstand, a stark and silent symbol of her disappearance. At first, Raymond assumed it was nothing more than a whimsical morning walk. Perhaps Lauren needed a moment of solitude after the overwhelming day. But as the minutes stretched into hours, his mild concern turned into a gnawing unease. His calls to her phone went unanswered, his messages left unread. The staff, scurrying at his command, searched the estate with increasing urgency. There was no. When word of her sudden departure began to spread, it ignited a media frenzy. Speculation ran wild. Reporters camped outside the gates, cameras flashing as rumors filled tabloid headlines. "Runaway bride" or "cold feet," one paper blared. "Millionaire's bride vanishes day after lavish wedding," another declared. Every angle was explored. Was she overwhelmed by wealth, seduced by another lover, or frightened by secrets only she knew? Social media buzzed with theories and whispers. Strangers dissected her every move, her facial expressions during the ceremony, and the way she had smiled. Was it joy or something else entirely? Raymond, a man unaccustomed to rejection or failure, was humiliated. His fairy tale had crumbled in public view. Desperation drove him to offer a substantial reward for information leading to Lauren's whereabouts. He hired private investigators renowned for their skill and discretion, sparing no expense to locate his missing wife. Clues emerged slowly, each one a tantalizing fragment that led nowhere concrete. A clerk remembered her purchasing a bus ticket in cash. A security camera captured her walking alone through a quiet, rain-soaked street. Finally, the search led to a run-down motel just over the state line. It was a place far removed from the luxury Lauren had just married into, a small, dimly lit room with peeling wallpaper and a creaky bed. She had checked in under a false name, paying cash to avoid a paper trail. The investigators knocked on the door with anticipation, but when she answered, their hopes of a joyful reunion quickly evaporated. She was calm but firm, her expression a mixture of weariness and resolve. Lauren made it clear that she had left of her own volition and had no intention of returning to Raymond or explaining her reasons. She refused offers of money, protection, or any assistance. When pressed further, she simply shut the door, leaving them to report back with little more than the knowledge that she was alive. The mystery deepened. Why had she fled from a life of luxury and a man who had seemingly given her the world? The pieces didn't fit. To those on the outside, it was a story of a bride who walked away from paradise. But to Lauren, it was an escape, a choice that had already cost her more than anyone could imagine. As the days passed, curiosity turned into obsession for those following Lauren Hastings' mysterious departure. The public was captivated by the question, why would anyone abandon Raymond Shaw, a man who could offer wealth, security, and a life of luxury beyond most people's wildest dreams? Theories multiplied with every passing hour. Some speculated that Lauren had uncovered a hidden betrayal or was secretly in love with someone else. Others believed she had suffered a sudden mental break, unable to handle the pressures of high society. But the truth, as it began to surface, was far more chilling than anyone had anticipated. Raymond's desperation to understand Lauren's disappearance led him to dig deeper into her life. He directed his private investigators not only to search for her, but also to examine every detail of her past. What they uncovered was not about Lauren's life before the wedding, but about events that had transpired just weeks before she walked down the aisle. She had been receiving anonymous emails. At first, they seemed like harmless pranks, cryptic warnings sent from untraceable accounts. The early messages were vague, simply cautioning her to rethink her engagement. "You don't know who he really is," one read. "Be careful what you wish for." Another warned, "Marrying him will be the biggest mistake of your life." Lauren, accustomed to dismissing baseless gossip about Raymond's ruthless business tactics, initially ignored these messages. But the emails persisted, each one more detailed and unsettling than the last. They contained information that only someone intimately familiar with Raymond's life could possess. Personal accounts of business deals turned sour, incidents of intimidation, and stories of ruined lives, all tied to his rise to power. More troubling, one message contained photographs of Raymond meeting with individuals known for their involvement in organized crime. Though the images were grainy, the implications were clear. Still, Lauren had doubted their authenticity. She'd told herself that someone was trying to sabotage her happiness, that these were the desperate lies of a jealous rival. But one final email, sent the night before her wedding, shattered her resolve. It contained a video. In it, a terrified woman sat alone in a dimly lit room, her eyes darting nervously as she spoke into the camera. Her voice trembled as she confessed that Raymond had been responsible for her brother's disappearance. The brother, she claimed, had crossed Raymond over a business venture gone wrong, and he had vanished soon after. The woman's words chilled Lauren to her core. "He will stop at nothing. If you marry him, you'll never be safe. You'll be next." The timing of the message left Lauren no room for investigation. She couldn't confront Raymond without proof beyond a shadow of a doubt, and even if she could, what power did she have against him? Her wedding had become a trap, a spectacle of wealth and power that now felt like a noose tightening around her neck. With no one to trust and no certainty of the truth, she made the only decision that could save her life. She walked down the aisle knowing her exit was imminent, her heart heavy with fear and dread. Every smile, every vow was a carefully rehearsed performance. The world saw a bride in love. She felt like a prisoner planning a daring escape. The secret she carried was her burden alone, a truth that, if revealed, could cost her everything. The truth weighed heavily on Lauren Hastings as she pieced together the warnings and revelations that had haunted her in the days leading up to her wedding. Determined to understand the full scope of what she had walked into, she spent every spare moment secretly researching Raymond Shaw's past. What she discovered made her heart race with fear and her mind spin with disbelief. The man she had married, the man the world admired for his business acumen and success, was hiding a life built on deception and danger. Late nights with her laptop became her only solace. She searched public records, scoured old news articles, and connected dots that no one else seemed to notice. Hidden within the glossy coverage of Raymond's business triumphs were whispers of ruin left in his wake. She read about companies that had mysteriously collapsed after refusing to merge with his empire, competitors who vanished without a trace, and lawsuits that had been quietly settled before they ever reached the courtroom. The deeper she looked, the darker the story became. Financial records revealed transactions linked to offshore accounts with no clear source of income. Shell companies, false identities, and elaborate schemes to launder money pointed to something far more sinister than ruthless ambition. Raymond's connections stretched beyond boardrooms and shareholders. He had ties to dangerous figures in the criminal underworld. People who crossed him didn't just lose their livelihoods. Some lost their lives. One case stood out among the rest, a tragedy that now felt chillingly personal. Rebecca Mills, a bright young woman with a promising future, had been engaged to Raymond years before. She disappeared days before their wedding, her car found abandoned near a remote lake. At the time, police concluded she had run away, overwhelmed by cold feet or a desire for freedom. Her family, devastated and desperate for answers, had never stopped searching for the truth. As Lauren read through Rebecca's story, parallels to her own situation became disturbingly clear. The charming, attentive man Rebecca had described sounded eerily similar to the Raymond she knew. Promises of love, lavish gifts, and whispered dreams of forever, all followed by moments of quiet manipulation and a possessiveness that grew darker over time. The pattern was undeniable. Lauren was walking the same perilous path, and if she didn't act, she feared she would meet the same fate. Fear coursed through her veins as she realized the depth of the danger she faced. Every interaction with Raymond now felt loaded with menace. She thought back to the subtle shifts in his demeanor, the moments when his charm would give way to a cold, calculating stare. She remembered how easily he controlled conversations, how he made her feel dependent on him, even as he painted himself as her protector. But Lauren was no longer willing to be a pawn in Raymond's game. The realization that her life was at risk galvanized her into action. She couldn't trust anyone in his circle. Every friend, associate, and even members of his staff seemed to be under his influence. Escape was her only option, and she would have to be smarter and faster than he was if she wanted to survive. As she packed a small bag the morning after the wedding, her hands trembled with a mixture of fear and determination. She left behind everything he had given her, jewelry, clothes, and the wedding ring that had symbolized promises now broken. The mansion that had seemed so grand now felt like a gilded prison. With each step away from the life she had just entered, she felt the weight of her decision. She had traded wealth for freedom, love for safety, and illusion for the terrifying truth. The world buzzed with questions as Lauren Hastings remained hidden, her sudden disappearance and fractured fairy tale wedding still dominating headlines. Every corner of social media buzzed with rumors, theories, and speculation, each story wilder than the last. But beneath the noise, the truth remained far darker than anyone could guess. Lauren had fled a man whose outward charm masked a chilling darkness, and now every day of her newfound freedom felt like a delicate balance between survival and fear. She moved from one anonymous place to another, staying in cheap motels or crashing in the guest rooms of friends who owed her nothing but discretion. She left no digital trail, paying only in cash and keeping her phone off unless absolutely necessary. Each morning, she scanned the news with a pounding heart, searching for any mention of her whereabouts. With Raymond Shaw's wealth and influence, she knew it was only a matter of time before his reach extended into the shadows where she now hid. The search for her became an obsession for Raymond, not out of love or heartbreak, but because of the insult to his pride. Losing Lauren his trophy, his possession, was a humiliation he could not bear. He spared no expense hiring private investigators, each one more relentless than the last, all sworn to find her by any means necessary. While the world saw a grieving husband desperate for answers, behind closed doors, Raymond's temper flared with cold fury. He had built his empire on control, and her defiance threatened to shatter that carefully maintained illusion of power. Lauren, haunted by the memories of her brief marriage, remained vigilant. She had avoided anyone who might recognize her, kept her head down, and relied on instincts sharpened by fear. The warnings she had ignored before the wedding now echoed in her mind like a relentless drumbeat. Her decision to walk away had saved her life, but she knew the danger was far from over. As she looked over her shoulder with each passing moment, new questions plagued her mind. Who had sent her the cryptic emails and the final damning video that pushed her to escape? The sender had vanished as mysteriously as they had appeared, their identity a ghostly enigma. Were they truly an ally, or did they have their own agenda? She realized that even in her flight she had been playing a role in someone else's story, a pawn in a game far more complex than she had understood. Determined not to live the rest of her life in fear, Lauren made a bold decision. She would uncover the truth behind the web of lies that had entangled her, no longer content to be a passive victim. Armed with the fragments of evidence she had pieced together, the emails, the names she had found in Raymond's financial dealings, and her knowledge of his darkest secrets, she began to work quietly from the shadows. Every step carried risk, but each revelation brought her closer to understanding the true depths of Raymond's reach. The final twist came when an investigation, sparked by a trail Lauren intentionally left behind, uncovered a vast criminal network linked to Raymond. The public persona of the charming millionaire crumbled as authorities closed in. The empire he had built on manipulation and fear collapsed under the weight of truth, and the man who once seemed untouchable faced the consequences of his actions. For Lauren, it was the end of one nightmare but the beginning of a new life. She had escaped more than a marriage. She had broken free from a world where appearances masked unspeakable darkness. The road ahead remained uncertain, but her survival had proven one undeniable truth. Sometimes leaving everything behind is the only way to reclaim yourself.